We recently looked at the strange phenomena of metallic spheres falling from the heavens. Some believe these orbs to be extraterrestrial in origin, others that they are parts of damaged satellites re-entering Earth's atmosphere. One thing that stood out in that story is that no one was talking. If the balls came from satellites, no government or private company was admitting to losing a satellite. Could this be because they don't want us to know what is up there? If we did, would it reveal technological capabilities that they wish to hide from us? Recently, there have been claims that the governments possess satellites that will be able to watch you everywhere you go and at all times. This signaling the end to privacy. Let's take a look. Welcome to IF, videos on conspiracy, ufology and cryptozoology. Hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you never miss a video again. There have been many cases of people being captured for illegal activities by police surveillance teams. The police and other government agencies using a wide range of tech to spy and gather evidence on criminals. Slowly, this tech ability has incorporated new methods. These have included a police operation that targeted a marijuana growing operation and used Google Earth to collect images of a plantation. The Brazilian police used satellite imagery to gather evidence of an illegal logging operation, and probably the most surveyed population on the planet, the Chinese, felt what it's like to be scrutinized when again satellite images revealed the Uyghur re-education camps that the government had been hiding. As each year passes, the capabilities of spy satellites increase. The number of orbiting eyes in the sky has increased to the point where the surface of our planet is under 24-hour a day, 365 days a year monitoring. Not only has this technology become pervasive, it has also become smarter. The image clarity has become so good that tracking an individual's face from space is easily done. A person can be traced going about their daily business, and a record of all that they do can be recorded, saved and shared. The end of privacy may be here. Currently, this ability is restricted to the alphabet agencies. Public and commercial agencies are limited to capturing images that are a resolution of 25 centimeters. This federal regulation is stopping the wider spread of this capability to more commercial agencies, at least for the moment. This regulation has already been changed to give us this 25 centimeter limit. Before, it was set at 50 centimeters. The new 25 centimeter resolution was pushed through in order to satisfy customers. These satellites being used so investors can predict world oil supply from looking at the shadows which are cast inside oil storage tanks. Farmers can monitor flooding to protect their crops, and human rights organizations using them to track the flow of refugees from places such as Myanmar and Syria. We can see just how important access to these satellites and the clarity of the information they provide is, especially in terms of the global power dynamic. The ability for these satellites to gather such detailed images will inevitably be used in business. Today we see companies like Planet Labs running over 140 satellites. This number means that the company has the ability to image every single place on Earth in a 24-hour period. Maxar, who were formerly known as Digital Globe, launched the world's first ever commercial Earth observation satellite way back in 1997. The newest project they are working on is to build a constellation of satellites which will be capable of revisiting the exact same locations up to 15 times accurately in a single day. Black Sky Global promises to survey and image most of the major cities of the world up to 70 times in a 24-hour window. This may not be enough to track every individual's every single move, but it would show some valuable information. For example, when they go to work, they could see what times of day someone's car is typically in their driveway. This really is Orwell's 1984 coming to pass. This is just the tip of the proverbial spear. There are now other companies which can offer live video beamed directly from the orbiting observation stations. Terra Bella shows HD video clips up to 90 seconds long. They are not alone in this service. A company known as Earth Now says it will offer continuous real-time monitoring with a delay as short as about 1 second. But how often have we seen how these technologies have been used to secretly gather data on people whilst in their own homes? What could be some of the scariest developments in this monitoring of the Earth's surface goes beyond catching HD images of the world. The use of radar sensing and hyperspectral images, which capture electromagnetic wavelengths outside of the visible spectrum. This will allow these companies to see through heavy cover and even cut through the darkness using synthetic aperture radar, which emits a signal that bounces off the sensed object back to the satellite. It can determine the height of an object down to 1 millimeter. Surveillance down to 1 millimeter? Why should we worry? We all see the prevalence of cell phones and know that they have GPS. This GPS data can be used to track an individual, and most would say it is a legitimate privacy threat. But we are happy to put up with the security risk for the convenience the devices provide. There is one thing you can do with a phone which you cannot with a satellite, and that is leave it at home. You cannot hide from the camera of an orbiting satellite. The makers of the technology obviously point to the benefits that it offers. For example, it can be used in agriculture, farmers utilizing the hyperspectral sensing to record the growth cycle of their crops. That same capability could easily be retasked to identify underground bunkers or nuclear materials. This is something we often see with technology. The use is often corrupted or used in a way that the original designers could not anticipate. The future looks even more frightening as the technology continues to become more powerful. The ability to process ever larger quantities of data will make the mapping and the imagery more accurate and more ever-present. Analytics companies like Orbital Insight and Space Know feed this visual data into their computer algorithms. These are designed so that anyone with an internet connection can view and understand the pictures, this seemingly having little regard for a person's privacy. This collection of images is then used by investors for analysis. As an example, it has been used to estimate the true GDP of China's Guangdong province. This on the basis of the light that the businesses and factories emit at night. Those that have a distrust of government also point to how this can be used to influence behaviors and target people. These satellites and analytics companies make the claim that they will be careful to anonymize their data, scrubbing details which could be used to identify a person. But the fact of the matter is that the raw images still exist, and all it could take is a single hacker to break into and reveal this information to the world. And I, for one, do not have faith that these businesses will not feed this data to the alphabet agencies around the globe. After all, we are now seeing just how cozy the social media giants like Facebook are with the likes of the CIA and FBI. Peter Martinez of the Secure World Foundation says, even if satellites aren't recognizing faces, those images combined with other data streams, GPS, security cameras, social media posts, could pose a threat to privacy. He goes on to speak on the types of data they could gather: people's movements, what kinds of shops do you go to, where do your kids go to school, what kind of religious institutions do you visit, what are your social patterns. All of these kinds of questions could, in principle, be interrogated should someone be interested. We may have a brief reprieve from the eyes in the sky, with many saying that, at the moment anyway, this technology and the creation of constellations of satellites is cost prohibitive. This is changing as new designs come to the forefront. Nano satellites are offering a cut price option, but they do currently mean that those who purchase them must sacrifice imaging ability. As of yet, the mini satellites cannot capture the hyper-detailed images of their bigger cousins. That being said, technology always moves in the direction of smaller, cheaper, and more powerful. This, like all things, will be driven by demand. Companies are already chasing the sub 25 centimeter resolution limit. Insurance underwriters want this level of imagery so that they can spot every detail of an area to protect their liability. They say that they need to see a level of detail so they can see things like trees overhanging a roof or be able to distinguish a skylight from a solar panel. Today, they are pioneers in using things like airplanes and drones to capture the pictures they need. Drones are limited in where they can go. In the US, the Federal Aviation Administration forbids flying commercial drones over groups of people, and you have to register a drone that weighs more than half a pound, 227 grams or so. This early adoption of technology will continue as the price of satellites falls. As the companies adopt this technology, they will no longer be constrained by the rules which hold back drones. There are no restrictions in space. There is the Outer Space Treaty, which was signed in 1967 by the US, the Soviet Union, and many of the other UN member states. This treaty allows all states free access to space, and subsequent agreements on remote sensing have enshrined the principle of open skies. When satellites were first being fired into space during the heights of the Cold War, this made a lot of sense. But with today's capabilities of imaging almost any location on the planet, this treaty is no longer effective enough and may need to be renegotiated. So what does this mean for the future of human freedom? I've looked into targeted individuals in a couple of videos. These unfortunates have been selected by mysterious agencies for monitoring. The reasons for why they have been chosen are not always clear. For the most part, they seem like ordinary people. These folk went about their ordinary lives until one day things began to happen. Strange things, the spotting of the same vehicle in different places throughout the day, odd messages or interference on electrical devices, people following them, and even voices in their heads. Is this a future that awaits us all? Is it a future you would be happy to live in? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you like what I do here on the channel, please hit that red button, like and share. You can catch the latest by searching We Are If. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.